Guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today is another Matt's Movies review, and I'm going to be reviewing another Norwegian film called Breaking Surface. I had an opportunity to watch this film recently, found it on Amazon Prime, so if you have Amazon Prime access to that, you can find the film on there. And yeah, I had an opportunity to watch it, so I thought I'd do a movie review of it today on the channel. Okay, so Breaking Surface came out in 2020, and in the UK it was a certificate 12. It's an action stroke drama genre, and it ran for 1 hour and 22 minutes. Two Swedish stroke Norwegian half-sisters go on a winter diving trip in northern Norway when they get trapped after a rock slide. The release date was the 14th of February 2020 in Sweden, and this was directed by Joachim Hedin. Cast included Madeline Martin as Tuva, Moa Gamel as Ida, Lena Hope as Kvinna, Maja Soderstrom, Ida's daughter, Trina Wigan as Anne, Jits Jonathan Butnick as the dive instructor. Okay, so yeah, the story kind of starts where you see one of the characters, one of the sisters, Ida, and it's kind of like a scene where you see her trying to sort of rescue one of her daughters from the water. She's kind of drowning, and yeah, she has to save her. So it's quite sort of traumatic sort of start to the film, and then you're kind of introduced to her sister Tuva, who's kind of like a sort of a diver for a job, and I think she kind of sort of sorts out problems on sort of the underside of ships and things. And there's a particular scene where you see her, she's all in a diving outfit, and she goes to the propeller part of a particular ship to try and sort of untangle nets and all this kind of stuff that's got sort of clogged up with the propeller. Now, without going into too much detail, it's quite a tense scene, this, and quite early on in the scene, in the film, sorry, it kind of really sort of sets up that it could be quite a tense drama piece, this film. And you also briefly see the sort of relationship that Ida has with her family. I think sort of her and her husband are having some difficulties. You're not really introduced to the husband, but it then progresses to her meeting her sister and her mother, and some wonderful sort of panoramic views of Norway. Amazing country, you know, sort of wonderful scenes, and there's some dialogue between the mother and Ida about sort of relationship problems and all this sort of kind of stuff about, you know, potential divorce, going to counselling and all this kind of thing. And also, just to let you know that the film is in Norwegian. It does have subtitles, so just be prepared for that when going into this film. Anyway, basically the two sisters and the mother kind of have met up, but you can tell that the mother is quite unwell, has got a really bad cough, and I think Originally they were all going to go on a diving sort of weekend or day trip out together, but it's kind of you realise that the mother is not going to be able to attend, so she's told to kind of stay at home. So you then follow the two sisters who go off into a part of Norway. This is set in the winter time, so you're seeing the mountain landscape all with snow. The roads are quite icy, sort of snow, so it's quite a bleak kind of time of the year. And they decide to go off and sort of do this diving sort of trip, the two of them. So, and they have a dog, a family dog, which they take with them in the car. And so they get to the sort of remote location where they're going to sort of do this dive. As I say, they're surrounded by mountains, and it's not actually been snowing at the time of them going into the dive. But when they get to the sort of point where they are, they kind of get their gear off and they've made a fire and this kind of thing. And whilst actually setting up like a little camp area, they actually notice sort of some rocks falling from above from the mountain side. And obviously this shakes them up a little bit, and they decide to move all their equipment to kind of under a ledge area so as to avoid any sort of damage to their equipment, because they have diving equipment, tanks, breathing tanks, all this kind of stuff. So they want to keep it out of the harm's way before kind of attempting the dive. And anyway, there's some dialogue between the two of them, and they get all geared up, and you can tell that Tuva is very much the more experienced diver. It's obviously her job, whereas her sister is very much still has done diving, but is not probably as experienced as her sister. So she needs a little bit of sort of coaching, helping with sort of what she's doing. Anyway, to move the story along, they sort of they get all the gear on, diving equipment, and they dive underwater, and leaving the dog at the sort of little camp area. They don't dive quite deeply. They've got special equipment on so that they can sort of go quite deep. But unfortunately, while they're diving, there's again another rock fall, and a huge rock takes Tuva down to the floor of the lake that they're in. So she kind of gets trapped down there. So it's down to her sister to try and free her from this rock that's trapping her. She can't move. Luckily she's not injured, but yeah, she's kind of like stuck. She can't move. She's got one tank of air, so it's really down to her sister to be able to help her and get her out. Now, before all of this happens, there is a little part that they find, almost like a sort of a small area of almost like they call it a diving bell, but it's like a small area of air pocket where they can actually dive up to and breathe. And apparently this is a location they've been to before with their mother, and their mother has carved like a T and a W into the sort of the metal bell area, I suppose. I don't know whether it's part of a ship. They don't really kind of explain that, but it's this small area pocket of water, of air above the water that they can sort of get to, if required, to just take off the mask and breathe. And ultimately what happens is that Ida is having to constantly go back to the surface to try and get help Um, she's been told by a sister that she can get a jack from the boot of the car, get an air tank from the car, which she does manage to get the air tanks, but there's a struggle to get into the boot. The car keys have been kind of trapped in the area where they put all their sort of bags and equipment, and some air tanks have been trapped because there's been another rockfall at the same time as the rock going down and trapping Tuva at the bottom of the lake. So she's having to rely on getting sort of stuff from the car. So this becomes a real problem. So she keeps doing dives, going down to try and sort of take more air down to her sister, and you can tell there's a lot of sort of frustration and tension. And also, as she keeps coming up, because of the depth that they're going down, that she keeps getting sort of nosebleeds and sickness. I think it's all to do with sort of the pressure sickness, sort of getting too much nitrogen in the blood. And she's supposed to do sort of stops, safety stops to stop this happening, but because of the urgency of the situation, she kind of has been ignoring these, so her health is kind of getting compromised as well. So without going into sort of spoiler territory and telling you exactly what happens, it's kind of a fight for survival, either trying to save her sister, trying to find new ways of being able to help her with so limited sort of things. You know, there's no one to contact. Telephones are trapped underneath all the rockfall, and the only real link she's got is between her and her sister through the diving apparatus. They've got like a comm link, and it's a constant sort of problem solving, looking for new ways to try and release her sister. And I would say it's quite a tense film. There's a lot of sort of action in it, a lot of sort of challenges, sort of, you know, tense moments. It's quite a short film, but I really found it quite engaging. I've recently watched some other Norwegian films, The Quake and The Wave, very similar sort of setting, again all subtitles, but once you really get into the story, you're reading the subtitles, but it's really an engaging story, this, very much like the other two films, and the time flies by and you're really captivated with what's happening. So, the film Breaking Surface, would I recommend it? Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a really good, solid Norwegian film. Really enjoyed this one. As I say, it's quite a small run time, an hour and 20 minutes. So I don't want to give out spoilers, because I think it's worth watching. But trying to give you sort of an idea, a taster of what the film is about. As I say, it's a fight for survival, and yeah, I'm not going to say what happens, because I do think, you know, it's worth watching. And if you like these sort of films, if you don't mind subtitled films, I think you'd really enjoy it. As I say, I'm not a big subtitled person, but if the story's engaging and it's got good action, good character development, you know, that kind of it's good to watch. You know, you get used to the subtitles. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's a very engaging, very good film, and I would really give it the thumbs up. Highly recommend Breaking Surface. So I hope you've enjoyed that review. As I say, you can find it on Amazon Prime, if you've got that. I'm not sure whether this has been released on DVD or Blu-ray, but no, thoroughly enjoyed this film, and yeah, if you get an opportunity to watch it, I'd highly recommend it. So if you like these kind of reviews, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, Please leave a comment as well. It's really good to have comments on the channel. And you can also find me on Instagram. I'm over there and I post pictures and the odd little video now and again. Thanks very much for watching the video, guys. Take care and see you in the next one. Bye now.